Living your legacy is the same as asking or saying, how do I live a more fulfilled, happy life? And more importantly, not just about how do I live that happy legacy life, but what's stopping you from doing so right now? So, the thing that we need to really discuss when we talk about how do we live fulfilled, how do we now chart our way into this new path of living. This, it's like the road is wide open now. There's no obstacles other than what we place in front of ourselves. And these are called limiting beliefs. And I see them as rocks and boulders and little tripwires and branches, and maybe there's like a big tree that's fallen on our path. These are things that we put on our path in our life. And all these obstacles are called limiting beliefs. So I want to unpack exactly why you aren't living your legacy, why you aren't living your most fulfilled, happy life right now by unpacking limiting beliefs. So, limiting beliefs, really, where do they come from? Right now in this life, they come from what we experience as a child. Okay, our parents teach us how to limit ourselves. Society teaches us and reinforces the things that our parents told us. School, how we were treated in school with our major role models, all teach us how to limit ourselves, not just how to become smarter, how to become a better athlete, how to become a better dancer. They really do transfer over their limiting thoughts and beliefs around our abilities. So, really, the goal in trying to live your happiest and most fulfilled life is dismantling all of that limiting belief programming that we had as children. So, I want to share with you a story that that um, that was shared to me with one of my clients. She came into the Passion Protocol program, and as all women who work with me, they come with heavy programming around their love lives. But it's really not just about their love lives. It's about all of their lives, right? It's about how they deal with people at work, their friends, their family. But the love life portion of it, I focus on that because that's a big wound for us as women. Big heartbreak. So if we're able to heal that heartbreak wound, then we're really able to have the tools and the skills to heal other relationships in other areas of our life. So I want to share with you what happened with Bridget. She came into the program with me, and she shared with me that her mother was dependent financially, and it was drilled into her as a child to make your own money, because there wasn't there. The example was her mother felt, I guess, disabled in a way because she basically gave her power over to her husband, right, who was the breadwinner and so forth. So her mother drilled it into her: don't be financially dependent, make your own way. All great messages for any female to learn, right? But unfortunately, within the context of what was going on and what was being exhibited in her dynamic, the way she transformed this great advice from her mother was that she always had to be the breadwinner. So, how that transferred into all of her relationships was that she had to dominate the control of the money. She had to step into, like, money is definitely a masculine energy. Not that you're being a male or you're being totally in your masculine when you're dealing with money, not at all. Money is also very creative, so there's a feminine aspect to money as well. But the structure of what money means is very masculine. So if we go to work to make money, to provide and buy things, that is, in essence, a masculine essenced type of activity. Okay, so for her, what happened was, as she transferred this advice from her mother, she became it became a belief that she had to be in control of the relationship. She had to be the breadwinner. She had to be the one who was financially better off. And what that did was, as she traveled through life, she found that the partners that she was picking were very much disabled that way. So they weren't in their masculine, right? Because she took over that role. And and in fact, she basically insisted on it, that she would, control the aspects of the money. And of course, being a feminine essence being, playing a masculine role in in a romantic relationship, she would she would eventually always pick a man who could never step up into his masculine, right? Because she created a scenario where there was no ability for the masculine to step in. Do you see the conflict there? So that's how that's an example of how she sabotaged her romantic relationships until she started working with me and we dismantled all that programming. Then she could release the hold of having to be always in control of the money. And then that further, broke down the construct of her belief that she wasn't a strong feminine if she wasn't taking care of all of the financial needs, right? So she was getting all these messages from her mother saying that she isn't successful if she in a relationship if she didn't have the financial control, right? So then of course she manifested relationships that were always unsuccessful, right? Because you can't disable a masculine, expect him to step into his masculine if you're saying, no, I'm going to take the masculine role. I hope that makes sense to you. That's just one little example around the dynamic of relationships and how our belief structure can truly, disable us when it comes to our life, our one aspect of our life. It certainly didn't disable her in her financial career, not at all, and maybe not even in her friendships to a certain degree, but in the real relationship that mattered to her, because she wanted to start a family. She really wanted to be in that, be in a relationship where she wanted to have kids and family. It was disabling her. Okay, so she wasn't able to live her true legacy at that time if she didn't fix that and reframe that belief. So, what is a belief, anyways? What is truly a belief? It's an acceptance by the mind that something is true or real, often underpinned by an emotional or spiritual sense of certainty. So for her, the emotional certainty was that my mother, my role model, told me if I'm not in control of all the money, I am not a successful person in a relationship. So that was that was her belief, right? So when she dismantled that, just the thinking around that, it didn't mean she had to stop making good money, or even it didn't mean she had to stop making more money than her partner at all. It was just the context in which she used that belief in the dynamic of finding a partner that was not working for her. So that completely fell away, and she created a whole new story around that and created a whole new life. So, if we take the beginnings of what we were told as children, if we can go back, so if you can go back, first of all, if you can just think about what's going on in your life and what isn't working in what area of your life. Is it your romantic relationships? Is it your financial sector? Is it your friend and family sector? Is it your career center? Which center is not working for you? Which brings you the least happiness? We'll say 1 out of 5. 5 being the most happy in that sector, in that area of your life. If it's at a 1, 2, and you really, really need to identify that as being the issue of where you're not feeling fulfilled, then I want to invite you to go back to your childhood. Remember what you were being told by your family, by your parents, either parent, how it was reinforced, how you decided at that time to make it a rule. And then it became a belief, and how you have carried that over into that area of your life that is really causing a lot of unhappiness. So here's another example. When I finally decided I needed to really explore why my marriage broke down, I decided I needed to get away, somewhere far away, so I could get a perspective over what happened in my life, because I was so in it still. I needed to pull away. So I decided to go to India. And actually, before that, I was having real resistance about traveling. I was having real resistance around, and especially around India, because when I thought about where did that thought process come from, because I love to travel and I traveled anywhere else, but for some reason India was always a block for me, and yet I always wanted to go to India. Um, and so when I dug deep into my belief system, my parents didn't travel. My mother was fearful of doing new things. And she didn't necessarily, no one ever really said, no, we aren't traveling because of this. There was nothing really significant in the way they spoke about travel or going anywhere. It was really about the energy that I got from my mother around trying new things. And that was the thing that imprinted on me, was about safety and staying close to home and not trusting, strange situations and strange people. And then when I became married, that energy transferred into the partner that I picked. I picked a partner who was fearful of trying new things. He was very uncomfortable in new situations, meeting new people. It had to be a familiar setting with familiar people. And there was such resistance to travel as well, real resistance. So much so that when we were dating, I wanted to go to a friend's wedding in England, and he resisted. It was his friend as well. He resisted the whole time, and I just said, "Well, I'm booking the tickets. You're coming or not, I'm going." And he eventually came. But that was sort of that story of not being comfortable with travel and experiencing new things really transferred into who I picked as a partner. And then going throughout our marriage, again, resistance to traveling. We hardly traveled as much as I wanted to. It was always a contentious issue. There was always like no money, which wasn't true. That was just an excuse. But I embraced that on some level, on some deep emotional level. It became part of my story too. So much so that when we finally separated and I had my own life, and I was encouraged by my life coach at the time to go away, I had such resistance. I didn't know what, I thought about it for months. I didn't know what to do, where to go, where can I go far away enough, and that was comfortable and safe for me. And I heard this voice in my head saying, "You're going to get sick in India, don't ever go there." A real clear voice. And I questioned this voice, like, why on earth would I not go to India? Because I could get sick anywhere, I would say to myself. That this feeling came really deep down because as a child, I had allergies. I was sickly. When we traveled to new places and ate new food, I would get sick. I would vomit. My stomach was very sensitive, and my mother was always very nervous. So it just didn't make any experience traveling good. And then it was reinforced by friends who came back from India who had like parasites and horrible experiences. So that was reinforced, and I took that on as another sort of proof that traveling to India was not a good thing to do for me. So when I did the work, stopped and listened to my voices, listened to my gut, and found the trail of the belief system, then I was able to recognize it and dismantle it and dispute it in my mind. And when I did that work, as soon as I made the decision to go to India, within a week, I had my visa, I had my ticket, I had my accommodations all sorted. Boom, I was gone within a week. So that's what happens when you release the resistance, when you clear all the crap from your path, when you get rid of all the rocks and the shit that's fallen down from all the stupid stories we tell ourselves about why we can't do things, it clears up. And then you have a clear path to do what you absolutely need to do to fulfill your life to the absolute fullest, to feel the most happy, to feel the freest. So I want to invite you to do that little exercise for yourself. When you feel you kind of know you want to do something, for example, oh, I really want to do that, but then a resistance shows up, like, oh, I don't have the money for that, or I can't do that, or I don't have the time. Those are all boulders in your path, and you're placing them there. So have a look at where those thought patterns came from. And more importantly, if you start to feel anxious and nervous about that, whatever it is, because deep down there's a real fear trigger, right? For my mom, the fear trigger was that she would be killed if it wasn't a safe place, right? It's always about fear and survival on some level. So, and of course, the India story, I would die in some hut. I was telling myself I would get so sick and it would be horrible. And oh my God, India, there's all kinds of hygiene issues back then, like as well. But those are all stories, all stories that I use to block myself from living my most fulfilled life. When I finally went to India, it changed my life forever. So, and I went there 3 times after, and I consider that my second home. So try that going forward. Look at why you're from living your most fulfilled life. I invite you to tear those beliefs apart, push those boulders and all the crap you're placing in front of your path to live a fulfilled life. Push them aside. Blast them aside. Get the leaf blower out. Just kick them with your foot. Just do it. And you can even do that energetically in your mind. Look at your path. Look at those limiting beliefs as blocks, and then clear them out of your way. And then just get to living your life the way you want, your way, that will make you the happiest and the most fulfilled. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for joining me today.